Well, I wanna pivot just a little bit here, and I want to talk about just like maybe some stories for Montrail. I can't imagine the stories that are undocumented that like don't make it into your peaceful Zen hiking videos, because not always are hikes peaceful and Zen, behind the curtain, right? I'm just curious if any stories or anything like that pop out to you of just like maybe the like scariest times, or like where times got real, or just anything intense like that.
Yeah. As much as I try to just like give an honest account of my trip and show everything, there have been some aspects that I've shared or not shared, mainly because it might be embarrassing or it was legitimately too dangerous to film. Like, if my life was seriously in danger and I was still trying to get shots, like, what does that mean? Like, getting that shot was more important than me not dying? Interesting. So Mount Whitney is pretty gnarly, especially when you go before the permits open up. You can go up when it's still snowy. And I forget what they're called, but it's just like pretty much a ski slope when there's just like fresh or just snow going down smooth. And it can be it's pretty fun to slide down, like the nice ones, butt slide down snow. But this one was like above the 100 switchbacks or whatever, if anyone's ever done that hike. And I decided to just like shortcut down by going down the snow. Turns out there was more ice. And I think most people who do this every so often run into the situation where, it seems like a nice shortcut to just slide down the mountain, but it's like too good to be true. And it turns out to be dangerous and takes way longer than if you like went the regular trail, and you can break poles and rip pants and just like not have a fun time. And I didn't film any of that for that video I shot. So, that tells you how dangerous that situation was.
Yeah. So are you like, did you have a trekking pole? Like, were you able to like dig that into the snow or something? Or
yeah. So I had no ice axe, which was dumb. And I had micro spikes on and a trekking pole. And I was using those like an ice axe and kicking steps the whole way. But yeah, I broke trekking poles just because of the amount of usage and, stress that was being put on those.
Yeah. That sounds like one of those situations you just start down it and it's almost like sometimes you get more angry the farther you go, because it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
I try to put a pretty hard limit on any type of trail cutting anymore, just because of that. It's like the trail is where it is for a very specific reason 99% of the time, But
yeah. Mistakes are how we learn pretty well, but you don't want to gamble everything on a risk. And I definitely gambled way too much on that one. So learned the hardest way, probably, almost dying. And then
I'm glad. Oh, go ahead.
And then just, sometimes there will just be treks that I go on in international countries that just have different rules than what I'm used to. To be honest, like I try to skirt around the rules and like do extra miles if I can go sleep in wilderness without a permit, or just like do X or Y to just, go have the experience that I want, in a safe and sustainable way. But there have been times like for Patagonia, like I remember going on the O circuit and hiking probably 15 miles and arriving at a checkpoint, and they're like, where is your permit for this? And I was like, I don't have one. And they sent me all the way back. So I had to do like 30 miles because I was expecting to camp there. So I might have slept at some point, but I just did a ridiculous amount of miles after taking like a 2-hour bus ride. So then I had to take the 2-hour bus ride back, get the permit, another 2-hour bus ride the next day, go and hike that same stretch, and then show up with my permit the correct way. But just dumb mistakes like that are just too embarrassing to show. Like I could, but if people watch that video, there are a couple clips for that section where the weather kind of changes. So I picked the best clips from that same stretch where I went twice. So, and I never really talked about that, but if anyone goes back to watch that Patagonia video. It might be a little funny for the first 2 minutes.
Yeah. Has there been a hike in particular where you felt like you were the most isolated, like you're just so far from anyone or anything, and was a different experience in that way?
Yeah. Starting out when I did Hornstrandir, Iceland, like it was near the Arctic Circle, top of Iceland. I'd never heard of it. And I probably didn't see a single person for maybe 2.5 days, which was interesting. Like that was the first time that had ever happened to me. And like I didn't really understand how I would save myself if I got injured or ran out of food. Like I just, wasn't as prepared back in the day. And it was very isolated, and yeah, it was very cool. I liked it.
Yeah. What about, I'm fascinated with Alaska. It's just a little bit more accessible and whatnot. You went and hiked 100 miles in Alaska. Was that on like a designated route, or is that a route that you pieced together?
Yeah, I pieced together 2 routes, and the second half was not something anyone should be hiking. It was very overgrown. Like some trails get overgrown, but in Alaska, that is to another degree. It's just covered with bears, and it was like flooded. So I'd never been on a trail that flooded so much where there was no trail. So you kind of like once the water gets above the ground, like you're on your own. It's the same thing with snow, kind of. If there's no previous hikers before you, it's just fresh. It's vanilla. And I got lost a bit. And thank God for like the GPS All Trails map that I had on my phone. Like otherwise I would have legit been lost. But I had to cross some rivers, which is, the dumbest thing. You don't know where you are. You're off trail. You're by yourself. There are bears. You have limited food. And you're like holding your pack above your head when you cross rushing rivers. And yeah. I think that's the most dangerous thing. And I didn't film that at all. Once again, tells you how dangerous it was. There were plenty of like little stream and kind of medium-sized rivers that I crossed like waist high in the video. But the last one I did before I hopped off trail was, up to neck. So pack overhead, swimming, feet off the ground at one point. And I didn't even put my drone up to just hover and document it in any way, just because I was like, survival mode, no filmmaking, just get through it.
Right. That honestly sounds terrifying to me, for two reasons, right? I mean, I have heard many a story where people get swept down, by river, and that's why you should always be unbuckling your pack and things like that if you're not aware of those situations. But yeah, I mean, in Alaska, that's a real thing that happens yearly. People getting swept away, and so that is quite terrifying. But also the bear aspect. Were you bumping into? I mean, if you're going through like yeah. thick stuff, you got to be bumping into bear, right?
Yeah, just Alaska is so different when it comes to bears. There's so many of them. Like if you go on a just any kind of little hike, even just outside of town, pretty much everyone has a gun on them. So for this hike, I had bear spray and a flare. So the flare was my gun. And I ran into bears on the trail, had one follow me in the little canoe that I had one circle the cabin that I was sleeping at. And then I just saw them every so often. So, I was just if it happens, it happens. I don't know.
Yeah, they say that the marine flares are like really, really effective. Like when you light them off, right, they make a loud noise and then they're bright. But yeah. I when I was in Alaska and I come back home, I was like, well, I went to give my bear spray to someone, and it was like, yeah, add it to the bucket, and there's like 30 cans there, and I'm like, So I decided to just go shoot it off just to see what it was like, and I was thoroughly unimpressed. I was like, this is what it is? That's a little concerning, but
yeah, most people there don't even entertain bear spray as an option, flare or gun at that point. So, yeah, once again, doing stupid things that I should have known better. So when I instruct people about the hikes that I go on, it is always helpful to, help them out and do the research on how they can do it safely and have fun. So